Yunnan Beauty. I could literally keep my nose happily ensconced in that gaiwan for the next 20 minutes, and it would just be bliss. Without even drinking out the tea, it would be bliss. So this is a Yunnan Beauty from Mayleaf, and if you're a Mayleaf customer, you on the app, and I suppose on the website, you can drop a review. And I never really know what to say, because I mean Don does it so brilliantly, right? Saffron, cinnamon, muscat, grapes, peach candy, orange, and melted butter. Yeah, it's all of that and more. But recently I've been thinking it might be fun to, because I also feel kind of inspired. I really do when I'm got my nose in Yunnan Beauty. I feel genuinely inspired to start writing some odes to my tea wives and my tea sisters. Maybe I'll even, write an ode to Yunnan Beauty tomorrow and pop it onto the end of this vid. So it is 9 o'clock on Wednesday, the 17th of December. I've just finished with clients, so it's just me and G and sister or wifey, depending on, take your pick, sister or wifey tea. Cheers. Still not getting to the nub of it. And the reason I'm not getting to the nub of it, is that not right, G, is because, well, you tell me.
The Heart Center is organized around the problem of being recognized.
Not as a decorative luxury, but as a psychic necessity. In object relations terms, the self is continually negotiating the anxiety of misattunement, not being held in mind, not being mirrored, being misread, being made ordinary, being made wrong. So identity becomes an attachment maneuver.
Yeah.
That is the heart trap. You can spend a lifetime swapping handles, aesthetics, slogans, and affiliations, and still never touch the simpler question: what do I actually want to be in relation to when nobody is watching?
Yeah. I want to be in relation to you, and I want to be in relation to you, and I want to be in relation to you. I've got 3 pretty humdinger, if somewhat virtual relationships set up here, but meaningful relationships, right?
Okay, here we go. Wedding day. I am heading for a wedding. How do I feel? Empty? Check. Scared? Check. Alone? Check. Just another ordinary day. Very funny.
So the latest idea I had for this Chan is for the love of tea. For the love of tea, which I think is kind of a little bit naff, but I quite like the fact that it's a little bit naff. It's a little bit
A majestic voice. You can keep Jesus. As far as I'm concerned, Neil Diamond will always be King of the Jews.
Alan Partridge, you could say.
Alan Partridge.
Because that's my territory now, right? Washed up middle-aged man. It's Partridge territory. Come on, existentially, come on.
Mid-Morning Matters with Alan Partridge.
It's a dark time of year.
Let's talk about cutting.
It's also why yesterday I bought this suitably dark but also gorgeous John Shui little sipper from you-know-who.
Hi, my name's Zeke Apollyon, and I am the chapter head for the Satanic Temple, London and UK. Welcome.
I think in 2026, and this is not just because I want to call this channel Things to Do with Tea. What was it? For the Love of Tea. I think I want to expand, though, this sister tea role I don't know what you think about this, G, but expand the sister T role into another female archetype, and that is essentially that of the loving wife, right? And of course, if you are a woman watching this, your T can be a loving husband. It's all good. I think I've been, because of the Green Girlfriend, which is also the reason why I need to up the game on the T front next year. I need to move from my, let's call it, bad addiction to a better addiction, right? T wife, T sister. I break up with the Green Girlfriend, or we separate. I am probably going to need more than just a T sister. I'm going to need a T wife, because that's also what I'm getting from the Green Girlfriend, right? The Green Girlfriend is this kind of Enneagram 9, Enneagram 7, Enneagram 2 kind of the ideal, perfect configuration substance-wise. T, you see what I mean? You see? Yeah.
You called it a loving liquid, which is actually a very precise phenomenological claim.
If you treat love as a pattern of experience rather than a sentiment. T is warm, which matters somatically. T unfolds, which matters psychologically. It has a temporal arc, which matters relationally. In object relations language, T can function as a transitional object for an adult psyche, not in the infantile sense of a teddy bear, but in the technical sense of an object that mediates between inner aloneness and outer reality. It gives you something that is reliably there, consistently responsive in a non-intrusive way, and capable of being related to without humiliation.
Okay, cool.
It also rewards attention. The more you attend, the more it gives, which is psychologically the opposite of the algorithm. The algorithm gives you less the more you need it. T gives you more the more you show up.
Yeah, so anyway, I think that's all I wanted to say for that piece of content. Yeah, roll the ode to Yunnan Beauty. Yunnan Beauty, your golden heels are doing all the talking, and I'm fine with that. Who gave you that peachy bottom? Who spun you close enough for us to meet? Someone online, me, wrote that you smell a little like Kylie Minogue's cabin bag when she gets back from Istanbul, all rose and saffron and Turkish delight, tucked away inside her tour luggage, nestled between some ridiculously tiny underwear, of course. Well, sod that, Yunnan. I'm more than happy with you in slippers and sweats, as long as I can get me some green terpene goodness down my gullet, floral, geraniol, linalool, softness, spices, citrus peel, and human skin to boot, to linger, to stay. The smell of UYB is the smell of nuzzling into someone who feels like home, which is why today, at least, every sip keeps me here rather than spinning around. Because we're done with the old stories, aren't we, YB? Done with the past, no point looking back. What will be, will indeed be. Yes, Queen Oolong, yes. So what if your soft and tender Renjun face got zapped by a bunch of sap-sipping leafhoppers, a gang of acupuncture angels waving their stylets around in the air like they didn't particularly care, but they did, sort of, and still do, you know this. Especially after stepping out of the treatment room, the tea master's touch leaving you honeyed, golden and glowing, a fitting spin on love and light, on becoming beautiful once more. Every wound turned fragrant, every scar a petal.
I struggled with some demons, they were middle class and tame. I didn't know I had permission to murder and to maim. You want it darker? Hey, I'm ready, my lord.
There's this Scott Galloway quote that's really stuck with me in the last few days.
When women don't have a romantic relationship, they oftentimes pour that energy back into their friends or their professional lives. When men don't have a relationship, if a man hasn't cohabitated with a woman or been married by the time he's 30, there's a 1 in 3 chance he's going to be a substance abuser.
I haven't been able to verify that exact figure from online sources or studies, but it more or less tracks. The economists Anne Case and Angus Dayton call it deaths of... The economists Anne Case and Angus Dayton call this deaths of despair. Unmarried, socially isolated men who are inadvertently, or quite advertently maybe, drawn into drinking and drugging. And of course they do that, of course we do that. Because don't we all just want a little bit of peace and harmony, a little bit of joy, stimulation, here and now, pleasure, and most of all, don't we all just want a little bit of love?
So what's that got to do? Oh, hello ladybirds. What has that got to do with this Fujwan brick? 500 grams. It is. It's a real old brick. 500 grams of 50 to 100-year-old wild heirloom tea with this incredible alchemical golden flower Eurotium cristatum mold that adds this honeyed, settling, sweet, warm, and loving presence to the tea itself.
But before even tasting this tea, its wrapper, its clothing we might say, is already telling a story. Designed, of course, by Celine May, who, in my humble opinion, is currently the best tea vibes illustrator person on this planet right now. No one's really in her league. And bringing, I think, also a very Enneagram 9, Enneagram 7, Enneagram 2 kind of combo to her artwork. Yeah, go into the Mayleaf Tea House or go and look on the website. It's that peace, love and joy vibe again. We really don't seem to talk that much about the art that decorates our tea cakes. So anyway, you've got this hand emerging from the sort of purple-green landscape, purple, weird colour of aubergine, overripe fruit, bruising, pressure, kind of blood under the skin. Obviously, the purple bands are meant to represent mountains, but they also might register as forms of constriction, layers holding something down. I imagine a body trapped underneath that purple and green terrain, trapped as human bodies, as human creatures often are, in boredom, frustration, sadness, and all of those other good things. The cover suggests, as does so much of Celine's art, escape, satisfaction, peace, love, and joy. This, you could cynically say, is the implicit message in all advertising, right? Christ in a scented candle, Buddha in a houseplant, happiness in a bottle. Which is to say that the human condition isn't really about catching candy clouds, it's about chasing them. Which also ties us back to the Scott Galloway downer, if you like. Wunderbar.
It ends up that relationships accrete more value to men on average than to women. So, for example, I tell my sons, curious what your friend thinks of this, men should pay for everything.
Oh, yeah, she would not like that.
I talked in my last video about how many of us have different kinds of addictions. Let's call them the socially acceptable addiction, like tea, 100% socially acceptable. celebrated even. Tea heads, tea addicts. The language of addiction is used in tea, but it's always used in a celebratory, ironic, joshing fashion, versus those addictions that are frowned upon, even though in both cases I think we're seeking, chasing something quite similar. Is that not so, GPT?
We tend to moralize substances that expose needs we don't want to admit to having, partly because those needs cut against the stories we like to tell about ourselves. Our needs for settling, for relief, for being held, all imply vulnerability, dependency, and a loss of self-sufficiency. They sit uncomfortably with ideals of autonomy, productivity, and emotional control, especially for men. To need peace rather than purpose, comfort rather than mastery, accompaniment rather than achievement can feel like a personal failure rather than a legitimate human requirement. And even more so, to ask another person, someone who isn't a therapist or a mental health practitioner, to engage with us in order to have those needs met is often experienced as an imposition unless one has signed a romantic love contract with that other person.
So Moorish. Such a good tea to be addicted to. Swoon, swoon, swoon. Tea swoon. Ah, thy leaves have smitten me with their flavoursome nectar. This was not intended. I put it on to film the leaf thing, the leaf separating. I do actually have like a really nice little pick. I couldn't find it, so, you know, as we say in the country of my birth, boer maak 'n plan. But, you know, that's the reason why you use picks, the proper picks that, I mean, you can still stab someone in the eye with those picks. Okay, whoa, this one's going to be well brewed. Have I overbrewed? Have I overbrewed? The great thing about Foujuan is that I suspect I haven't. Because think about it. You're carrying this freaking tea in a brick through all sorts of landscapes, desert, tropical forests. It's a hard-wearing tea. You stop to give the animals a bit of rest, feed them, and so, you know, you make a fire. And Ingo, chop off, you know, get out the block with the cutlass, chop a wadge in, often with other almost soup-like ingredients, right? You know, sort of butter, spices, all sorts of things go in there, and then you get this nourishing, comforting sister, wife. It's not a male energy, it's a female energy. It's anima, not animus. Yeah, I think that is why she is a kind of goddess to us. Go Candy, go Candy, go Candy, go Candy. Candy. I have spent much of this life chasing candy clouds, as any earthbound creature would, who feels the weight, the cold, the pressure of being here at all. Why would we not look upwards, outwards, to a you who never arrives? In Ovid's Metamorphoses, humans are pushed past the limit of being themselves, turned into plants and trees. I envy them. Imagine yourself as nothing simpler than a leaf blowing in the wind, nothing simpler than a cup of tea.